Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 128, NFL offseason heating up. We're about 3 weeks removed from the NBA play-in as well. Let's start it off. NFL free agency, man. Today's March 25th, aka the day Stephon Diggs just signed with the New England Patriots. So let's start with that, and then we could backtrack into the rest of free agency. Your thoughts on the Pats' new addition at wide receiver one?
I think it'll definitely be an upgrade from what they had last year. I couldn't even name you their leading receiver. Who is it? Hunter Henry? Uh, I'm not too sure. They had who, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, both of the rookies. Little, underperformed, as you could say. Your boy from UCF, what was his name? The receiver, Baker. Is that his name?
Yeah, Javon Baker.
Javon Baker. Yeah.
He was a little banged up, man, and get his PT. He deserved, bro, because Polk suck, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, it seemed like Demario Douglas, he was solid slot receiver, but I mean, you need more than just a slot receiver in your offense. So I think Stephon Diggs, being a veteran wide receiver, now you can get into the antics and the locker room and the on the field or off the field stuff. But in terms of being a receiver, coming off of the injury, I think he'll be slow to come back. Probably won't be ready week one. But I mean, modern medicine, who knows? He might be. Regardless, I definitely think it'll be nice for Drake May to have a reliable target in the offense. Now, he's not what he used to be. Stephon Diggs, a little older, a little up there in age, but in terms of being, just a veteran receiver that'll be able to get open, that'll make life easier for Drake May. It'll definitely be the best receiver Drake May has played with yet in the NFL. So I like what the Patriots are doing. They bring in Mike Vrabel, finally got some stability there at coaching, bring in some free agents, help that defense. They bring in a bunch of guys. We'll get into it. Obviously, the big one, Milton Williams from the Eagles, highest paid D tackle. He got a bag. They brought in a bunch of other guys too. I'm sure we'll talk about, but it seemed like during free agency they loaded up on defense, got all their guys on defense, and now I think during the draft you'll see them target a lot of offense, bring in some guys on the offensive line and some weapons and skill players to kind of help Drake May and build along that offensive line. So I think bringing in Stephon Diggs. When you have a young quarterback like that, bringing a veteran receiver, giving him as much help as possible, can never be wrong. So I don't hate it at all.
Over under 4.5 weeks played by Stephon Diggs before he goes out to the media or crashes out on the sideline, whichever one. You taking the over or the under on that one?
I'm gonna take the over just because there's no one else in that Patriots offense right now. You know, we haven't seen the draft yet. We're not too sure what goes on, what's going to happen in the draft. But as of now, as of the day Stephon Diggs signs, he's going to be the number one target. When he's on the field, he's going to get all the receptions, all the work. So he'll be happy. Drake May will look his way. He'll be the true number one. So I think he'll be happy.
Yeah, there's not too many skill position guys that are gonna be, highly touted in this upcoming draft. So I
And he
think
gets
it's
to play
safe
the
to
Bills
say
twice a year. So I'm sure he'll be looking forward to those revenge
I
games.
was I was gonna say it's gonna be some revenge games, but I think he's gonna be on the wrong side of some of those this upcoming season, which I mean, AFC East, we could talk about Josh Allen getting his contract extension, 330 million, 250 guaranteed. And the Bills, they did a little bit of something, man. They were able to get Greg Rousseau back on an extension and add Joey Bosa sort of on a 1 year prove-it deal at this point in his career. He's been banged up, but a guy that used to be an elite top three best pass rusher in the league at one point in Joey Bosa. They add him to the line. How you feeling about the Bills this offseason?
I think this Bills team, at this point, they're in the upper echelon of NFL teams. As long as they have Josh Allen and enough around him, I don't think they'll be a competitive team. Like you mentioned, I mean, you trade Von Miller for Joey Bosa, not much there. You bring back Greg Rousseau, your star young pass rusher, continue to build the trenches. I think they also signed Shakir to an extension as well.
Hmm.
Josh Allen's, favorite target in the
Josh
slot. So
Palmer, they add.
yeah, they Josh Palmer I think is also a really, really good ad. He's had some productive seasons when he's been healthy down there with the Chargers. But when you got a quarterback like Josh Allen, it kind of you don't need to make all these big splash key moves. You can get some solid, good role players, and you'll see him elevate them, kind of like he did last season. They didn't really have any, superstars on their offense or on their defense at that. So when you got a quarterback like Josh Allen, especially in the AFC, all those teams are loaded at that position. You just need that guy, and the Bills have it. So, I mean, as long as he's on that team, and as long as he's healthy, they'll be competitors. They'll be, a team that has championship aspirations, I think, and pretty much until he hits the end of his career.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Keeping it in the AFC East, the Jets, obviously no Aaron Rodgers out of New York. They bring in Justin Fields. Do you think the Jets are better off with Fields versus Aaron Rodgers as of right now? I mean, obviously they could add still, but right now Justin Fields kind of looking like the QB1 in New York.
I do think Justin Fields will be the QB1. I think he'll be the week one starter, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in a young guy. I mean, we can get into the draft class and the quarterbacks. Obviously, nowhere near what it was last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Jets bring in, maybe a Jackson Dart in the second round or a couple of these quarterbacks. I know, I believe his name is Tyler Shuck, I believe is how it's pronounced, the quarterback from Louisville. He's an older prospect, but teams seem to really like him, but this seems like it'll be a draft where, you bring in a development or a project kind of in those mid rounds because you don't have the top end talent like last year, and you roll out of Justin Fields, then you try to develop a guy behind him. They also have Jordan Travis, who they took last year at the end of the draft. Maybe there's something there. He gets back fully healthy. He coming off that ACL injury, but yeah, I think they're definitely going to be better off with Fields. Well, one, because he's going to be cheaper than Aaron Rodgers, and two, it already sounds like the vibes are high. Apparently, the reports coming out saying Garrett Wilson very happy teaming up with his college quarterback. Before they signed Fields, it was where are they trading Garrett Wilson? He's on the block. Like, should the Jets move him? Now apparently he's happy to be back with his quarterback. So we'll see that chemistry that they had back at Ohio State. And I just think for the Jets, until they can get, another swing at their franchise guy, another rookie drafting in the top, like having a player like Justin Fields, is a young guy with some potential who, not looking like he can be a top elite quarterback, but maybe there's a way they can find some potential. Can he just be, a middle of the league quarterback? Won a bunch of games for the Steelers last year, eventually got benched for Russ. So we saw in the right system he could win some games. So I'm sure they want to do the same thing over there in New York, build a solid defense around him. Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, another defensive minded guy. He'll have that defense ready, and they just go out there and ask Justin Fields not to lose them games and kind of be a game manager. And then what he brings to the table with his legs, explosive athlete, can get it done in the run game as well. So adds another element. I just think it'll be better. The vibes were just so bad at the end there with Aaron Rodgers. It kind of just seemed like, he was coming for everyone's job. A quarterback like Justin Fields has nowhere near the power or say so. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He doesn't have four MVPs like Aaron Rodgers, so his word won't hold as much weight. Even though you can argue they're on the same level at this point in their careers, I think it'll be a lot more uplifted, positive locker room going into next season. So I think they're better off.
You're saying less of a locker room cancer is what you're getting
Well, I
at
mean,
there.
it all started, once the
I'm
reports
not
the very,
arguing
very
it.
beginning, we should have known, bro, when it's like, oh, skip the team meeting to go on a trip to do, I'm not gonna say what he was doing. I wasn't there with him down in South America, but whatever he was presumed to be doing, he skipped
He's
OTAs, mandatory camp. I mean, I just that should have been the sign right there, man. That it wasn't gonna work out. That should have been the sign.
dude's better on Pat McAfee than he was playing football last season. I will say that.
It
Cincinnati
did
Bank.
seem like all of his antics, everything he doing around football was like bigger than the football. Like he played solid towards the end of the year. He stepped up his play. They were a little better, but I mean, the Pat McAfee show, him bringing in Devontae Adams, like that was super big. Like him going on every Tuesday talking about what was going on. It just seemed like everything around the football was bigger than the actual football on the field.
I agree, man. The Cincinnati Bengals shaking up this offseason, re-signing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on big deals. T. Higgins avoids the franchise tag, but the big question comes at their best defensive player and their edge rusher is Trey Hendrickson, who no deal done, and they're saying that could possibly sit out the whole season with this Bengals defense. We saw how awful they were last season. To think that they're gonna play without Trey Hendrickson and not even have one guy on this defense that can make a play. Sort of a head scratcher. I know you want to keep that core together, the one that got you the Super Bowl between Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. But at some point, you got to draw the line on those offensive guys. You can't pay, this isn't the MLB where it's unlimited money and you pay a luxury tax. There's a salary cap in the NFL. These defensive guys that you're relying on to go out there, and we saw it last season, man. The Bills or the Bengals could put up 30 plus points, yet they're getting 38, 30, 40 hung up on them. So, bit of a head scratching move for Cincinnati. I know you want to keep that core, but I really don't like the move of paying, Chase and Higgins in a situation like this where your defense so greatly struggled and you really don't go out there and address it. You make it worse by your best player right now not having a deal done and probably won't have a deal done anytime soon, what it's looking like.
Yeah, they were put in kind of a tough position because I think ultimately down the road, like if they weren't able to get a deal done with T. Higgins, okay, I understand. You trade him, you get some kind of value, but to me, I think the big one was Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. He's not one to shy away from the media. He's very outspoken and he's letting it know like he wanted both of those guys back. And if there was in like some world where they weren't able to get either one signed, I think Joe Burrow would not be happy at all. Then instead of Trey Henderson sitting out. You got to worry about will Joe Burrow request a trade? Does he want to leave? Is he not happy? So I mean, it's super tough. I totally agree. They were in a tough position. I don't hate bringing both of them back. I think when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you have those two receivers that have that much chemistry. Why break it up? Do everything you can to keep them together. Now, at this point, you would love to see a deal get done with Trey Hendrickson. I totally agree. Led the league in sacks last year. One of the best pass rushers in the league, but I mean, you mentioned it. You can't pay everybody. So now at this point, they kind of did, the reverse of what said the Patriots are doing, where the Patriots in free agency, they spent all their money, they loaded up on defense. So now they got to, find some players to, through the draft. The Bengals got to hit on some of these defensive players in the draft, man. These young guys that are on these rookie contracts that aren't making as much money, they need to start getting some production from them. And they need to start seeing those guys overperform their paychecks. And then that's when you'll start seeing some success. And I mean, you could say, is it the coaching? But I mean, we've seen Anarumo have some success during the playoffs against Kansas City Chiefs, against a bunch of these teams when they had some players. So I wouldn't really say it's the coaching. We've seen that defensive scheme have success. You got to see some of these players step on the defensive side of the ball. So they're able to find a way to get Trey Hendrickson back, and then maybe in the draft they can hit on a solid corner, maybe get some help at linebacker, or someone else to put on the other side of Trey Hendrickson, and just get a little bit more production on the defensive side of the ball. And they don't have to be the best defense in the league. Just be middle of the pack. I think this Bengals team will be very, very scary down the stretch coming into next season because we saw how good the offense was. We all know that what the main joke was last year. It's like, wow, the Bengals score 49 points, but the defense gives up 50 and they lose. And it's tough to be in games like that. So we know if they have that big three, um, Chase Brown, solid running back. O-line's okay. That'll get better. We know this offense can put up points. So their defense can, instead of giving up 50 points, maybe they give up 48 and then they win the game. So they just need to be a little bit better. Some of those young guys got to step up. They got to hit on a couple of these draft picks coming up. And I definitely think this Bengals team can be, find a way back to the Super Bowl in the next couple seasons because you got Joe Burrow, you got the weapons. You just got to see some guys step up on the defensive side of the ball. It's really all it comes to.
Yeah, keeping it in the North. Browns, Myles Garrett. I'm not even going to touch on it. Highest paid non-quarterback contract in NFL history. You know how I'm rocking with the dog pound, man. I don't know if you want to touch on it. I know you probably got some comments about this
But you
contract
don't want
and
to talk about the Super Bowl winning quarterback you guys signed?
you mean the one we traded for?
Or
I
yeah, the
mean,
one you traded for? Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
you want to talk about him, bro? You could go ahead and talk about Kenny Pickett, but
No, I'm trolling. It's Kenny Pickett.
I
There's not
know.
much to talk about in 2025, fam. Like, I for one, I wouldn't be surprised if he's your starter going into the season. But I think you're gonna take Shadur. I think Sanders is gonna end up, kind of like what we saw with Drake May last year. He'll eventually take over and he'll be the starter.
Well, I don't think Kenny Pickett will start week one, but obviously I'm not in that building. Love the MG getting back after all those um, rumors and reports and him actually saying it, so it wasn't just rumors. The Pittsburgh Steelers, money talks. DK Metcalf added to this roster, good addition for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Still a little bit shaky elsewhere on that offense, and they bring in the worst safety in the league. I got to mention Juan Thornhill. So shout out to the Steelers keeping them in the division. And they also
A
got your
little
boy
bit
Big Play
shaky.
Slay. No, I said
I
worst.
No, I'm saying you said they're a little shaky on offense. I think that's an understatement. They don't have a
Oh, I
fucking
mean,
quarterback, bro. They have no quarterback. They literally don't have a quarter. Who they don't. I don't think they have one quarterback on
Mason
their roster.
Rudolph.
Actually, no, I forgot. Didn't they re-sign Mason Rudolph?
Yes.
He's on the roster. Um, yeah, man. DK Metcalf, George Pickens. I mean, the memes write themselves. They're gonna feed families throughout the season. I mean, on the field, those it's probably going to be a top five receiver duo in terms of just talent. But shout out Big Nate. I was telling him when it first happened, top five receiver duo with bottom five QB play. Like who's throwing them the ball, bro? I mean,
It's a good
Aaron
point.
Rodgers. We just talked about how bad it ended in New York. He's the one, the big name right now
Rumored,
swirling
yep.
around. Is he going to be the signing? He's the one that is he going to go there? Russell Wilson, we saw what he was doing last year. Didn't really move the needle. Now he has the connection with DK Metcalf, played with him early in DK's career, so they have that connection there. But Justin Fields, he signed with the Jets. He's out the building. So right now it's looking like either what more of what you had last year in Russell Wilson, or 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers who
That wants
is
like 30 mil.
rapidly declining and is going to be a big show all around the locker room. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I just the Steelers are poor. It just amazes me how every single season, every way it shapes out, no matter what, it's just 9-8, bro. Like it's written all over. Like you look at this team. You put Aaron Rodgers in at quarterback. You put in Russell Wilson. The media, everything is going to be surrounding it. Oh, Steelers offense is back. They look so good, this and that. They're gonna start hot. They're gonna, Mike Tomlin's gonna get his 9 wins. He's gonna have another winning season, and then they're just gonna fizzle out at the end of the season like they always do. Like I don't know how like a team can just be consistently stuck in mediocrity as much as the Pittsburgh Steelers are, because they're not a bad team at all. Like they have some good players. You look at the defensive side of the ball, their front seven's really good. Joey Porter Jr., a solid young corner. You mentioned they bring over big play Slay on the latter part of his career, but still solid when he's healthy, when he's on the field. But offensively, they've had some struggles on the offensive line. They've had some struggles at receiver. At receiver, you bring over DK, him and George Pickens. That's enough on the outside. Now it's like they finally have everything, but they just don't have the quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see who they eventually bring in. I think it'll end up being Rodgers, but if it's either him or Russell Wilson, I just don't think they'll be enough to put these teams over the hump, especially when they're going up, against all those teams in the AFC. It's super competitive. All those guys, all those great quarterbacks in that conference. It'll be tough with the Steelers to compete. So, I mean, we haven't really done our division stuff yet. That'll be later down the line, but I'm gonna say it here first, man. Put me on the record, book it right now. I got the Steelers going 9-8, man.
Not a hot take. I don't want to go through every team at this rate we're going through, but if you want to talk about any of these teams or, stuff I go over, just let me know. Um,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
did I did like the additions in the South on the Texans in terms of that defense and your boy, Chauncey Gardner, extending Derek Stingley on the defensive side of the ball to help out that offense that kind of struggled last year. Daniil Hunter, 1 year extension. And they add Christian Kirk in a little trade, with Diggs going out. Nico Collins, obviously the true number one this season. Like the additions over there in terms of Jacksonville, they sort of cleared house. Colts not really doing anything too much, moving the needle. They signed Javarius Ward, 3 year deal. Like the pickup there. Um, let's see, man. Um, the Chiefs not really moving the needle. They re-signed Nick Bolton, big piece of that defense, to a 3 year contract. Hollywood Brown, a 1 year deal as well. Moving on to the Vegas Raiders over there in the West. Geno Smith, the new quarterback in Las Vegas, going to be throwing Brock Bowers the ball. They get Raheem Mostert in the backfield. Max Crosby, 3 year extension, over 100 M's. Is this Vegas team a competitor now that they have a quarterback?
Well, I definitely think they'll be better than last season, but that's not hard to do when they won what, like how many games? Three, four?
Not many.
Not many games. Actually, no, I think it was more than that. I gotta give them some credit. I think they won maybe five, 4 or 5. But yeah, you bring in Geno Smith. He's a better quarterback than obviously what they went out there with last year. Now they're in a super tough division. They're going to be playing the Broncos, who have, Bo Nix, his second season, him and Sean Payton. They cooked up Bo Nix's rookie year. That team also had one of the best defenses in the league. I don't see them getting any worse. That's a super young team. They're going to bring in some playmakers. Kansas City Chiefs, we all know what they are. I mean, they just went to the Super Bowl for 3 years in a row. They have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. And then the Chargers, Justin Herbert, another year with Harbaugh. That team made the playoffs, so it's going to be a competitive division. I don't. I want to say I'm not gonna say they're gonna be a contender, but I definitely think they'll be better than what they were last year. Geno Smith really helps that team, but they just still need some pieces on the defensive side of the ball in that back end, and I think they need a couple more weapons on the outside of just Brock Bowers. As good as he is, as good as his rookie season was, I mean, you can't do it by yourself. You need more help. You need some weapons. Mostert, he's a nice piece, but he's an aging running back. I don't think he'll be, their starter. I think he'll be a nice change of pace back. A lot of guys, a lot of mocks have him taking Ashton Jinty. I think that'll really help in terms of, having a nice change of pace with Jinty and Mostert, little lightning and thunder. That'll be a nice combination. But I think there's still a few more pieces away in terms of being a true competitor. I don't know how long Geno Smith's window will be open. He's been in the league for a while, just hasn't been starting for a while, but he's getting up there in age as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, kind of all like I've been saying this whole episode. At this point, it kind of comes down to can these teams hit in a draft? Can they, find a young receiver or playmaker in the secondary or someone else on that D line to kind of help elevate that team and try to cash in right now in Geno Smith's window because I don't think he's going to be playing for another 10 years. I'd say you have a cool 2, 3, 4, maybe at the most of Geno Smith playing competitive football. So they got to find a way to add guys now to help them compete because if not, I think there'll be a team similar on the line with the Steelers where they got some good players around or they have good quarterback play, just not enough around the team. But I think the Raiders would be solid. I think they'll improve from last season. Just think they're still missing a few more key pieces on that team to be a true competitor.
Najee Harris signs with the Chargers this offseason, not moving the needle for me, likely for you, keeping it in the running back room. The Dallas Cowboys add some running back help. Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. Sanders coming off, arguably with Philly, his best season of his career, and then he goes to Carolina, sort of just falls off the face of the earth, loses his job. Chuba Hubbard becomes a star in the making. And Javonte Williams never really had a fair chance in the league, battling a lot of injuries early on in his career. Can he bounce back from yet another one? Other than that, the Cowboys not really doing too much. Khair Elam, excuse me. Um, they add him to the defensive side of the ball. Nice addition coming over from Buffalo. But once again, the Cowboys this offseason, sort of like last season, they're not really doing too much to help their case. They lose Lawrence this offseason. They trade to the Seahawks. So the Cowboys, I know you're happy about that. Not really getting much better, probably worse.
Well,
Uh,
they'll definitely be better next season. As much as I do hate them, Dak
mhm.
Prescott missed pretty much all the year, so they'll be a better team once they bring back Dak and CeeDee Lamb. He's fully healthy. He was playing with that banged up, I think it was his wrist all season. He has some injury, so he wasn't fully healthy.
I think
Micah
he had a
missed some
rib
games as
injury
well.
too or something, right?
Yeah, I think it could have been the ribs that was holding him out, or he was playing banged up on. Micah Parsons is banged up as well. So hopefully, well, hopefully for Dallas, not hopefully for me. I could care less about Dallas, but I think their star players will be back. They'll be fully healthy, and I think they'll be a better team coming up next season. Barring any more crazy injuries.
Jameis Winston to the Giants, man. Malik Neighbors gets a new quarterback, one that's just gonna toss him the rock heavily. Javon Holland signs with them as well on a 3-year deal, coming off his worst season after being one of the best safeties in the league when he came in. Fell off last year, big time fall off down there in Miami. He walks in free agency, 3-year, 45 uh million-dollar deal. And I like Javon Holland as a player, had a down season. Don't think that's the type of player he is. He really struggled um in every aspect in the run game, coming down into the box, playing free safety. Normally a ball hawk over the middle, put him over the top. Unable to do so last year with the Dolphins. So for the Giants' sake, hopefully they get the good version of Javon Holland and not the one everyone saw last season. In terms of your Eagles, I think I asked you about Saquon a few weeks ago. When it did happen after the Super Bowl, he signs a contract extension with Philly. Big deal for the Eagles. If you want to touch on that or any of the signings, Lane Johnson. I know your boy Zach Bond. I'm not sure if we touched on that as well.
Yeah, I think that was the main one. The biggest one is bringing back Zach Bond. Now the Eagles were, you could say losers or some of the big sellers at the free agency market because last year they had a lot of guys step up on, the 1 year prove it deals that really contributed to this team. I understand you show out, you win your Super Bowl, now you want to go get paid. So you can't fault those guys for going out and trying to make their money while they can. But I mean, Saquon Barkley deserving. I mean, you got to give him as much money as as he wants. You feel me? Like the way he was able to just elevate this offense. You just mentioned, Miles Sanders. I talked about Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, how good they were in this offense. You put in someone like Saquon Barkley, and you saw what happened last year. 2,000-yard rusher, sat out the last game, could have broke the record, went insane in the playoffs. Now had a disappointing Super Bowl, but that was on the stats. You could tell throughout that whole game their game plan was to stack the box, take away Saquon Barkley, and Saquon being that threat, he's the main reason that passing game and guys on the outside like Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, they were able to get the one-on-one matchup. So, uh, in terms of this offense and this identity, it's definitely Saquon Barkley. It's definitely this run game. So you got to pay him. And on the defensive side of the ball, Zach Bond, my defensive player of the year, best linebacker in football. The way he was able to step up seemed like we were on this podcast talking every single week about him making a big play, whether it's a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, fumble recovery, interception. He's just all around the ball. Now it's going to be tough. We lost a bunch of key guys that did contribute on that team. You mentioned trading away CJ Gardner Johnson to the Texans, big play Slay signing with the Steelers, Isaiah Rodgers, nickel corner, backup corner for us who came in, played some made some good plays on defense, was a big part of special teams, was turn guy for us kind of. I believe he signed to the Vikings. He got paid. Fred Johnson, swing tackle for us that stepped in a couple big games, a couple big moments. He went and signed with the Jaguars. So a bunch of guys. Milton Williams obviously stepped up huge in that Super Bowl. Kind of got his payday. He went, signed a big deal with the Patriots, and then obviously Josh Sweat, another guy that's been a big contributor for this Eagles defensive line, this front seven for the past couple of years. He went out in Arizona to reunite with Jonathan Gannon. Sure, he's happy to be back in that system when he had one of his best seasons. He got paid as well. So a bunch of guys that contributed, a bunch of guys that made big differences for this team, went out and got paid. But in Howie we trust. Bunch of young guys ready to step up. I'm not gonna sit here and go through the Eagles depth chart, but I think they got some young guys that they believe in, some guys that they think can definitely step up and make some plays, and it'll be exciting to see some new faces get opportunities this upcoming season for the Eagles.
Yeah, you got plenty of time this offseason to do all that. Um, NFC North, not really moving too many needles in terms of free agency, a couple of re-signings here and there, so we'll keep it pushing in terms of that. Same with the NFC South. Besides the Bucks, man, they re-signed Chris Godwin, 3 year, $66 million deal. Think that was huge. You saw the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin when they're both on the field. Baker's out there playing his best version of football. Keep those weapons the same, and I really like the move by Tampa Bay, keeping that core of receivers in there. I know Godwin in and out, injuries, banged up, been injury prone his whole career, but I think that team with Chris Godwin, they could compete in this NFC South, obviously, win the division, and maybe go on a little playoff run as well down there in Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, bringing apparently he took less money also to be with the
hmm
Bucks.
Versus the
He got
Patriots. I
offered
think the Patriots
the
was the.
Patriots offered him a bunch of money, but yeah, you mentioned it, man. The offense with Baker, when both of those guys are fully healthy, they can put up some numbers. Bucky Irving, his rookie year was amazing. He's going to be back in that system. So they definitely got some weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Just going to need their defense to step up a bit. And I think this
Mhm.
Bucks team can make some noise. Definitely think they'll be the favorites going into next season to win that division.
Moving on, man. Arizona Cardinals. They get your boy Josh Sweat on a 4 year deal. Dalvin Tomlinson added as well. Some defensive help for this Cardinals team that struggled on that side of the ball. Some good pickups there. Adding some D line help. Um, the Rams really making the big move. Cooper Kupp no longer an LA Ram this season. They bring in Devontae Adams on a 2 year deal, um, paired up with Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams in the Sean McVay system. So, can we expect this Rams team to sort of be back in there competing for an NFC championship?
Well, I think the right way to say it is they're going to continue to compete for NFC championships because last season against the Super Bowl champs, they were literally two plays away from beating the Eagles and going on to playing the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. So as long as you have Matthew Stafford there, as long as he's in that Sean McVay offense and they got one or two playmakers now, you look at Puka Nacua, he stepped up, obviously a clear number one. You look at Devontae Adams in that system, I think he'll be great with the way he plays and his releases and his timing and his routes. In that system, you don't got to be a super athlete. You don't have to be one of the best, physical players on the field. If you're a smart guy, if you can just get open, we've seen multiple receivers have success. We've seen Cooper Kupp, who, he's never been the fastest player on the field. He's never been the strongest guy, but he had the triple crown. And then Puka Nacua, last 2 seasons, he was what, a fifth round draft pick. Didn't blow people away with his 40-yard time, but he's a very strong, smart, very savvy receiver, and he just gets open. So I think Devontae Adams will fit perfectly in that system based on, those timing routes, those routes where you sit in the zones, finding the open hole. That's what his game is based off of. And Matthew Stafford continues to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think this Rams team, we saw that defense step up, that defensive line, they only continue to get better and better. think this Rams team would be a really good team. Kind of maybe a dark horse team, a team that'll be able to make some noise next year. But yeah, once they brought back Matthew Stafford, I think this team's ready to continue to compete for. You said NFC championships. I think they can compete for Super Bowls the way they're built now if everyone's healthy.
San Francisco 49ers, man. It looks like their Super Bowl windows door is shut or it's barely cracked open, man, because some serious moves out there in San Fran. Fat Samuel gone. He's in the Commander's system now, via the trade. Not too much going on there in San Fran after a tremendous down year from what the Niners have been in years past. And obviously, um, still having CMC out there does help. Banged up last season, didn't really get to touch the field much. And when he did, it was sort of all set in stone. The season was over for the 49ers. So maybe they bounce back this year. Brock Purdy has a better year, a bit of a down year for him. Brandon Ayuk also got hurt, kind of early on in the season for the 49ers, went downhill for them at that point in the season. The Seahawks, they get a new quarterback and Sam Darnold, 3-year, $100 million contract. The Seahawks better off with Sam Darnold than they were with Geno Smith.
I think
And they
it'll be a lot
also
of the same as we saw last year. I mean, maybe
Cooper
worse
Kupp
just
added.
because they lost the weapons. Yeah, they brought in Cooper Cup, but lost Tyler Lockett, lost DK Metcalf. They still have JSN, who's a really good slot receiver. But I think it's a lateral move. I mean, they lost Geno Smith, but they were able to bring in Sam Darnold, so I don't think they'll be missing out on much. I think those two quarterbacks are, from what we saw and how they performed last year, I think they're in pretty much the same category on the same sphere. So I'd expect to see a lot of the same from what we saw last year from that Seahawks offense.
I think lateral movement is perfect. They do get Dexter Lawrence help on that defensive side of the ball for the Seahawks. Like that pickup um,
I mean,
for them.
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
and
sorry.
get Dexter Lawrence. I was like, yeah, I missed that shit.
No, no, no. DeMarcus Lawrence, my bad. 3-year, $42 million deal. Um, yeah, that's gonna wrap up NFL free agency. You got any things we missed, didn't cover?
No, that was pretty much it. We hit all the big ones.
Mock draft coming in a couple weeks. In terms of that, man, we'll see. Draft coming up. I think it's what, April? It's late April. Know that for a fact. Gonna be a good time for these teams to go out there and draft who they want. You said perfect time into Cleveland. I don't hate it. Cam Ward goes one. Shador goes two. I don't think there's any other way. I think Abdul Carter is the favorite right now. So if you got a little betting money on that, who you think is going number two, I'd go ahead and throw it on Shador pretty confidently if the Titans go ahead and draft a quarterback. So, but there's also rumors Cam Ward won't go one. So there's been, smoke screen. I don't know
Cam Ward is going one.
what you need a smoke screen for the number one overall pick in the draft, but
Yeah,
that's what's
there's
going
no
on,
point.
man. NFL's funny time. NBA, man, playing. We got it in 3 weeks. Um, the tanking Heat, last time I checked, they were up end of the first quarter against Jimmy Butler in his return to Miami. That's sort of the only comment I got as far as the Heat.
Revenge game.
Um, well, it's like a Bam revenge game. I think he had 13. It's 29-43 Heat. Wow. Um, right now in the second quarter, but it's starting to heat up, man. LeBron the other day doing the full court sprints and dunks, coast to coast. So he's looking back and healthy. It is getting an exciting time in the NBA, man. You got any
Yeah, I mean,
teams you want to cover?
this is pretty much where it's starting to heat up. We kind of know where teams are going to fall, especially in the East. We pretty much know who's going to be what seed. Just got to watch the playing games. But I mean, the West is still as open as ever. We talked about a couple weeks ago. I mean, you still got, obviously excluding OKC, but the
Hmm.
Lakers, they just dropped a couple games in a row. Nuggets, Jokic and Murray, they've been in and out a couple of lineups, but when they're on the same or on the court playing together, they've been really good. The Suns won a couple games. KD's been hooping, I think, the last two games. He's been like balling out of his mind. They're more of on the playing level, but I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. The Warriors, you mentioned playing the Heat right now. They're kind of in the mix as well, and the Clippers, but I think it's going to be interesting to see that seeding. Those middle teams, the Rockets and the Grizzlies also have been winning games. So I think we could get some really interesting first round matchups and, some really good teams we thought were, higher in the seeding. We couldn't see them get bounced just because especially in the West, it's all about matchups, man. Like each team knows what team they want to play and what team they want to avoid. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see like some strategic, maybe, sit a couple guys out here this game so we drop to this seed because we're able to play this team and we can duck this team and not worry about them until, later and give someone else a chance to try to knock them out. So eh, it's interesting, man. This time of year definitely is. But you mentioned the plan in the next couple weeks. We're just gonna have to see how that shakes out. The Bulls, they've been hooping. They've been looking pretty good over there in the East, so maybe they can make some noise in the play-in. But
yeah.
regardless, I think the West right now is definitely where it's most competitive, where it's heating up, where, like you mentioned, the teams like the Lakers and those teams hovering around the 2 to 4 spot, they want to try to play as good as they can to get that seed and get that home court.
Rockets hold that two seed. Right now in the West, they're a game and a half ahead of the Nuggets and two and a half ahead of the Lake Show. And it's really, if you go 8 through 2, um, really, really crazy. I think it's a 4.5 game difference between the 8 seed and the second seed out there in the West. And then if you go 9 through 11, you also got the play-in, and that's a half game difference between the Mavericks and the Kings. Suns are tied at 24 and a half, but I think they have the tiebreaker over Dallas. The Heat got the last play-in spot, and I mean they'll be in the play-in regardless with Toronto 5 games back. They kind of just have to lose out and just end up there. But yeah, it should be fun, man. Ready for that Western Conference is gonna be interesting with that 2 through 6 or 2 through really 5 right now shaking up in the West, but
Facts.
we'll see in terms of that. 3 weeks, I think it's probably almost 3 weeks on the dot for the playing game. So we'll see, man. NBA heating up. Um, will Curry be healthy? We'll see about that for the Warriors as well. AD just came back for the Mavericks, so they got a play-in shot, with how bad their season was riddled with injuries and, moves by the GM out there in Dallas. But we'll see, man. Go to go. Episode 128, NFL offseason. Got any last comments, takes, anything you want to
Yeah,
get off your
man.
chest, man? All right.
Nah, NBA heating up. We'll definitely be covering that more. And then, like you mentioned, the NFL draft right around the corner. So, I mean, this is not the best time of year for sports, but it's a good time. There's some content because dog days of summer, they're right around the corner. So we got to enjoy it while we can.
Shout out baseball, man. I'll see you
Dog
I
days
think
of
it's
summer.
tomorrow, man. I think it's tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, Thursday. We're back, baby. So fun time for me, man. A lot, man. My future's AL Central winner, Cleveland Guardians. So it's free money if you're betting. So it's
All
plus
right, I
300.
might
I'm
I might
just,
sprinkle a little something on there. So if I
all
lose,
right.
it's your fault.
Yeah, all right. It probably will at this point. Just knowing my type of luck. But go 128. Go to go pod on TikTok. Go to go everything else. And until next time, we'll be back with another episode, man. Peace.